The secret God gun loadout in Modern Warfare Warzone. I get asked questions a lot about what people should be using, what weapons are the best, and where people should go to. But there exists one singular weapon in Modern Warfare, one cheeky weapon that not anybody knows about, and it is one of the best in my opinion in Warzone, and something everybody should be using. That is the SA-87, or as many of you will probably know it as the L85A2. The SA-87 is just a cheap knockoff name for some kind of licensing reasons. This loadout is effective at overwhelming opponents, which is very important in Warzone, producing high damage and high accuracy over ranges, but is slightly on the slower side of things in terms of fire rate, but also just in terms of general mobility. It's by no means a slow weapon, or by no means a weak weapon, it just feels a little bit heavy in the hands. Now, why does nobody know about the SA-87? Well, the simple fact of the matter is it's an LMG, and LMGs for the most part, unless they're the PKM, seem to be overlooked quite heavily in Warzone down to their sluggish nature. But the SA-87 is kind of a hybrid. It's effectively an assault rifle LMG, or in some degree bridges the gap between the two, and in fact the L85 is most normally considered in most shooters as an assault rifle, but in this case it's probably being considered as a battle rifle slash LMG variant. But what you should know is that it does 100 HP of damage in 2 to 4 shots up to about 75 meters, which means that you can crack an armor and down a player between 4 and 8 shots, which is an impressive statistic to have for any given weapon, not to mention the fact that this is a much faster firing weapon than something like the Scar H, which is probably of similar power. But one thing worth noting is that this gun doesn't really have a lot of notable recoil and is very easy to control over ranges, which makes it a full range powerhouse. And in this video today I'm going to be giving you 2 variants, the long variant and the short variant. The first one is the long variant. It's the SA-87 with a standard barrel, monolithic suppressor, Ranger foregrip, 50 round mag, stippled grip tape, and a 3.0 or above optic. Consider pairing this class with something along the likes of an RPG, as this variant is specifically tuned towards hitting targets of up to 175 meters. It's a very powerful weapon, it's a heavy hitting weapon, and much like a lot of the LMGs, it does a really weird suppression effect. So if you're getting hit by this thing, it does put your accuracy off quite heavily, and that's also a benefit worth thinking about. But in effect, this is arguably the most powerful, versatile assault rifle over ranges, and even though it's an LMG, it isn't really an LMG. Next up is the short variant, and this uses a smaller barrel. There are a few options available, but I typically go for the one which has a faster aim down sight. It includes the monolithic suppressor as well, because that maintains range without necessarily damaging you too much in sound suppression or any other department. This comes with the Commando foregrip, a 50 round mag, and that's about it. You can feature an optic as well, or you can choose a stippled grip tape. It's really your choice between the mobility and having an optic, but personally I tend to go with the red dot sight or something similar, or something of a shorter range variant. Now this is probably closer to effective ranges of under 75 meters, I'd say. It tends to get a little bit inaccurate when you're trying to use it in very far distances. But again, this is a super powerful variant and is geared towards working with something closer towards a sniper rifle. Now, I always use the HDR because even though it's slightly slower between shots, it does have that benefit of a faster bullet velocity, meaning that it hits its targets quicker. So compare this with a HDR, combine it with a HDR, and you've got something along the lines of a medium to long range loadout, something that you can switch to. I highly recommend using Amped to switch between the two weapons very quickly. In fact, I use Amped on pretty much all of my classes at this point. It just makes everything that much easier. But in effect, this secret weapon is here. It's a very powerful gun, like I say. It works across all ranges, very easy to control on both console and keyboard and mouse, as I've played it on both. And in my opinion, definitely one of the best weapons in the game right now. The SA-87, although rarely used by anybody, is a real heavy hitter, and if you factor in the headshot damage that you could do with this thing, honestly, it feels like you down people faster than any other weapon in the game, except for something like an MP7 from 5 meters away. So if you want a weapon that works very well with both a short and long range range variant for both your sniper rifle or RPG classes, this is definitely something I highly recommend, considering it has both a short range and long range variant that are both effective at completely collapsing people's ability to defend themselves really quickly. And if you combine this with some weapon mounting, and I would say for most people, mount this weapon more often than you would for other weapons, because it is still in some respects an LMG, a little bit sluggish in some places, and the gun can kick up here and there. But other than that, I think this is a really solid loadout and really solid weapon worth going for. And although it does have that little bit of recoil that needs compensating, over ranges as a bullpup rifle, this thing does immense amount of damage, and I do recommend everybody to use it. Anywho, folks, that's about it from me today, TheTacticalBrit. As always, thank you for watching. A little pro tip in general with this class is just to really be patient with it. You know, this isn't going to be an SMG level thing, but catching anybody out in the open will absolutely shred them. So, you know, bearing in mind that you are using a slightly slower rate of fire weapon, and stick to the strengths of this class and you'll really get the best out of it. As always, folks, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you again in another video.